Hi everyone, good afternoon. We are back with the Candid at Ciceroni live once again after 15 episodes, and this time we are really excited with the guests that we have. We have with us Radhika and Parul of Black Taxi. They are the founders, and we are so excited because one of them is traveling from US, one is traveling from Bombay, and it is just like an opportune time for us to ask, what does a modern shopper behave like? How has the evolution of a modern shopper taken place? The two founders have been kind of bringing Black Taxi since 2011. The interesting bit is Parul was a corporate professional and Radhika was into merchandising and styling. And so how did this entire journey turn around? Let us hear it from both the founders that what led you both to start Black Taxi in the first place with the careers that you were already doing?
So I was in the regular corporate 9 to 5 job, and but at the same time, my family is into the textiles business.
Okay.
So it's kind of in my blood like that. We were already having talks at home about me moving out of my corporate job and joining my dad.
Sure.
So that was an open dialogue that was already happening, and so this is a discussion that Radhika and I had about starting a platform where we can have designers that are working on their labels in their private studios or want to start up. And this is back in 2011 when there weren't as many platforms to showcase, and there were very few avenues to shop. So it's I guess it was meant to be. So it started off as a dialogue, and it's here today.
What do you think about it, Radhika? What's your take on the starting? Because you were working as a merchandiser and a stylist.
Right. So I come from a fashion marketing background, and I was working with a pretty big fashion house in Mumbai as a merchandiser. So I had a lot of exposure and access to labels that were already existing in India.
Yes.
So I also understood the problems, because the only avenue for these guys to sell used to be a brick and mortar store.
Yes.
And that wasn't accessible and also affordable to a lot of people.
Yes.
That's actually when I was planning to leave my job as well. Wanted to try something new. I started freelancing for a couple of my friends who had moved back to Bombay, which is their home city, to start their own label.
Sure.
And they faced a lot of, they reached a standstill point as to, okay, now we've started our label, we have a collection, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And they said, can you, so that's how I think Parul and I started having this. It was a very casual talk. Where do you shop? Where do you go? Everybody's wearing the same stuff.
Right.
Online shopping wasn't accessible at that point. And this is 2011, like
2011, yeah.
So we actually saw a big gap in the market, which I think it was one of those things, the right opportunity at the right time.
Correct.
And I think Black Taxi just was a product of that.
Lovely.
It was a discussion that started in the afternoon, and by the evening things were sorted. And the
Yeah.
next day we were talking to a lawyer to put the company name in a place and do the paperwork. So
that's how confident we felt about.
Yeah, it's rolled out in a day.
Fantastic. So how was your first experience like, just to go back into nostalgia and tell us like the first exhibition in Bombay, Ahmedabad, Surat, Singapore, so how did that happen? Because every time it's anxiety.
Yeah, every exhibition, actually, every event feels like a first event.
Yeah, it does.
So the first event, I think, so it happened in April 2011. And we started very small. When we started off, we literally had 25 designers and labels, I want to say. Mumbai obviously was the city that we hosted the first event in. And it just, we were honestly, so we were a new company. We did not have marketing budgets for whole days or newspaper ads.
Of course.
It was purely through social media and word of mouth. And we had 650 shoppers in one day.
Wow.
Back in the day, and honestly, we were just ourselves. I think we went into a little bit of a state of shock.
Yeah,
we
got overwhelmed with it.
Yeah, it was very, not just for us, even our designers. It was very overwhelming for everybody.
And when we put that show together, it was we have visited people that just had a concept in mind to start to do something. This is, apparel and non-apparel, and they just had a concept, and we had a concept of what we were going to do on that day, and they've started planning for their brand with us and launched with us.
Wow.
So it was an amazing journey, and we've seen those brands grow from there to what they are now, and it's really amazing to see.
Must be quite exciting.
Yeah.
So how about Ahmedabad? How was your first experience in Ahmedabad or Surat? Since we're talking about the Gujarat market,
Right.
what was your first experience like?
It was, again, I'm going to use the word overwhelming because a couple of things with Ahmedabad and Surat that happened which exceeded our expectations. One was the buying power that Gujarat has.
Okay.
It's a great, it's a very integral part of the country's economy.
Yes, absolutely.
Considering the amount of businesses that run out of Gujarat, especially also for us because we predominantly we are directly or indirectly associated with the textile or jewelry industry.
Absolutely.
This is the hub for it.
Yes.
Yes. So the buying power amazed us. The other thing I have to be honest about is, and which we still feel that it surprises us with every season that we come back in, is how fashion forward and conscious the women are of Ahmedabad and Surat. I mean,
Ahmedabad's got some real good style.
Yes.
Yeah,
It has
and
changed.
Ahmedabad's got a lot of
It has
style, yeah.
changed over the years. It has
No,
evolved.
when we started, the year we came, I remember, when we had everything in place, and we were sitting at our event, and the kind of women that walked in, the clothes already, the style, it's already there.
yeah, it was
And
like
Ahmedabad had a
catalog.
lot of, it's got good, they've got a good style sense as well as they've got choice.
Right.
Like
Discerning.
they demand creativity, they demand quality. So I think the shoppers here are they're very knowledgeable. They know what they
They're
want.
informed.
Very informed, yeah. So it's actually amazing to come to Ahmedabad every time. It's a learning experience of how to step forward for us as well.
And Surat, what would you say?
See,
Like
a very
Surat is
similar experience, I
Very
want to
similar.
say. I think the first time we had a lot of designers participate when we came to Ahmedabad, the first edition. A lot of our designers had come to Ahmedabad for the first time with their collections.
Right.
The second time they came, their collections were even better because they themselves were, women here want very stylish stuff. They want very, so it was a really good amalgamation of comfort and style.
But although I think on that note, I want to say that I felt like Surat still has a lot of coming out.
So that's what I really want to kind of understand, because a Bombay shopper, like sitting here in Ahmedabad, I always feel a Bombay shopper is going to think very, very differently, and probably an Ahmedabad shopper is always going to think value for money, is what my understanding is. And probably a Surat, because it's quite exposed to Mumbai, probably the spending power is a little different there. So, considering you guys have done business at these 3 places, plus internationally, what's your take on the behavior of a shopper?
So in terms of value for money, I feel like a Bombay shopper as much demands it as an Ahmedabad shopper.
Yeah, they do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think from our learnings, an Ahmedabad shopper and a Bombay shopper are very alike.
Okay.
They're very alike in terms of their demands, and they're very alike in terms of their spend. They're okay spending a lot of money. They don't shy from an outfit that might be priced more than what they would like to spend.
Right.
But they want new styles, new creations,
exclusivity, new things, fashion forward.
They want value for money for what they're getting.
Yeah.
So the same thing with the Bombay shopper and an Ahmedabad shopper.
Right.
Surat, I feel like, is evolving in its design, style. So I think, in fact, the Surat market's going to change a lot more than what an Ahmedabad or a Bombay market is going to be.
Sure.
So, because an Ahmedabad or a Bombay market's more evolved.
Yeah.
Surat's going to be there very soon.
So Surat, just a little thing that we observed, while Ciceroni is there in Surat, and so we've been kind of reviewing multiple exhibitions that come there. We realized that the taste is very different, in Surat. Like everything is very ornate, So that's what our understanding was at the end of it.
Probably
Probably they wanted more ornate stuff or more कुर्ता मतलब सिंपल नहीं हो सकता है,
हाँ,
उसमें कुछ
I
और कट
think-
होना चाहिए, उसमें कुछ और होना चाहिए.
I think उसका reason ये है कि Surat being a textile hub of the country, there is so much access to simpler, like just fabrics,
Basic
that it's easy
fabric.
for women to go out there with fabrics and like just get simpler stuff made.
That's an
So when they
interesting
come-
point.
So when they
yeah.
come to an exhibit or an event like ours, what they want is they want to see the value in the fabric, which comes from, in India especially, it comes from embroideries, and it
Yeah.
comes from cuts, and it comes from style and fit.
Right.
So if you offer these four things,
yeah.
so for me, my aunt actually visited our event 2 days ago in Surat. She
Surat,
was saying
yeah.
the same thing. She's
Yeah.
like, this fabric is very easily accessible, and this is a really interesting input for the designers that come with us, which we plan on
Absolutely.
giving to them.
Correct.
Because this was
correct,
a learning
correct.
we just had.
Correct.
The fabrics over here are so easily accessible to me. So if you've got an embroidery or some accent that is an additional value add for me, I'll buy, I'll pay for it.
Yeah. Only and
So-
only if you give me something extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
But I also want to add to that to say, I think there's an Indian sense
Huh.
when we that we've also seen like in our own selves over the years. Like if you were buying occasion wear, it had to have embroidered,
Something, huh,
right?
huh,
Like it was some time back when you would go buy, like you wouldn't buy a plain. Like a plain outfit, because it had to
Sure.
have some kind of embellishment on it or
Yeah.
handwork on it or something. And I think over the years now the design sense and approach is completely different. Like if it's styled right, fits right, cut right, even if it has nothing on it, it'll be as admired or more. So I feel like that's kind of a part of evolution that Mumbai or Ahmedabad have
Been
seen.
through, yeah.
Like that's what I meant by evolution. That these markets are not. They don't ask for something that's in your face embroidered or
Yeah.
Yeah. They're okay with it being like just a bold color, like a bold or simple stripes or whatever. But as far as it's cut, styled differently.
Sure.
Surat is evolving from that.
That's
The
staying.
embroidered
You're
bhari
correct.
काम
You're
जो
correct.
your mum would look like a ये plain पहन के जाएगी. That
Yeah.
I think that's where Surat is evolving from
Yeah.
to going into styles.
Right.
So that's what I meant by. I
The-
think it'll be there in a few years. So there's a lot of potential there, and I think that's the story with a lot of cities in our country.
Absolutely. How was Singapore? The reception to the entire different kind of diversity, right, over there, though Indian diaspora.
Right.
But what are their demands like?
So Singapore is actually, funnily, it demands a lot more Indian contemporary outfits.
Right,
Because,
of course.
it's a market which is outside of the country, so they don't have access to a lot of, homegrown brands that we have access to.
Absolutely.
What they have access to is the international high street brands. So what we try when we curate a show for Singapore, we try to take more Indian wear, more occasion wear, more prep, and a lot of contemporary Indian labels
Sure.
that work with really nice textiles. People are very, very fond of fabric and textiles there. So we do a lot of kota, chanderis, we do a lot of silks,
Correct.
a lot of really nice mulls and cottons. That kind of stuff, they love it.
They love
And
Yeah.
it's not just the Indian market that comes and shops with us in Singapore. We also had a lot of, non-Indian expats that came and enjoyed the collections and shopped with us,
Yeah.
which was a really pleasant surprise for us.
So like a brand like Soup by Saugat is really well appreciated there.
Yeah, I think it is being appreciated everywhere. I
Yeah.
think even Ahmedabad, Surat.
It's true.
He's just penned it right, like the trend and all
Yeah,
of
but
it.
also see again, that's not, so when you wear a Saugat outfit,
Huh.
you're not wearing an Indian, like an Indian suit or an Indian sari.
Right,
You could wear it to different occasions.
sure.
So that's again the Singapore market's open to that as
So you
well.
contemporize it, I guess.
Yeah,
It's more
so,
than that.
So again, Singapore market has a lot of young professionals.
Yes.
They're again you and me settled abroad working, with corporate jobs or other kind of professions, and they're looking for outfits to wear in their circles.
Sure.
So again, Singapore's actually very similar to the Mumbai market. But Singapore is again asking for. Singapore is a more thirsty market than a Mumbai market because the avenues to
they
get
don't have
that
the
in
scope of
limited.
it. So yes, they
Right.
want it more. So with the exhibitions, let's kind of come to analyze the market of it. When you kind of started in 2011, we are in 2019. It's almost going to be a decade of black taxi now. Yeah, decade of black taxi, and I think the market dynamics have changed completely. In like last 10 years, the disposable income have increased, and so the buying parity has changed. And so we see, like in Ahmedabad itself, we see a lot of exhibitions happening on routine basis. So there are 3-4 kinds of exhibitions that happen. One is like everybody and anybody who decides to put up 4-5 like brands together. So that is there. And then there are curators like yourself who kind of put up a big exhibit. And then there are curators who would bring in just one designer, like one really fancy designer, so something like that. And then of course the designer themselves do shows, So what's your opinion on this? Because one, what's the pros and cons of it? Saturation of the market or the opportunity in the market? What would you think of it
I
as?
actually feel like to each his own. We're no one to judge.
Yeah.
We're in our own space.
Right.
We enjoy what we do.
Right.
We do this a lot. We started this also from a point of view to create an avenue for our own shopping, which has now, multiplied like that. But I actually feel like solo shows work good for some.
Right.
The other kind of events that you mentioned where there's a set of designers, handpicked or not,
Right.
they work for them. So I actually feel like...
No, what I meant was that there's so many things happening. How does it affect one's business, Does one see it as an opportunity that, oh my God, since so many things are happening, so there's a pie for everyone? Or does it work as a challenge,
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Honestly, it's definitely challenging for us.
Right.
I'll give you two perspectives.
Yes.
As an organizer and as a shopper.
Right.
So as a shopper, I see it as an opportunity. But also as a shopper, you come to a saturation point, right? Because you're just, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Also because this culture is very new for, India. And everything I feel like and this is just my opinion.
Right. Okay, of course.
I think everything in India in terms of retail is happening suddenly together.
Yes.
Online stores, online
like
shopping.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Day there's 70-80%
Yeah.
The word
going
sale
on.
has really lost its value.
Absolutely.
And the word MRP is also losing its value.
Absolutely. You don't know what's MRP and what's discounted anymore.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's suddenly been too much, accumulation of avenues for shopping. We went from having very minimal avenues to shop. In 2 years ka span, it just went like there's too much option.
It's overblown.
So it's overblown and it's saturated and it's a bubble. And I feel like it needs to burst at some point only because it's taking a toll on the kind of quality of product that we have access to. It's taking a toll on, the costs that we are, the budgeting and the costs that we are spending out.
Sure.
It's also taking a big toll on the expenses for the designers.
Of course, yes.
Things are getting more and more expensive and the demand and supply are just not in sync anymore.
Right.
So that has to sort of match up. But I think that's also because, like Parul said earlier, that a lot of cities, we sometimes underestimate the buying power and we think Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta are the only cities that have like the money to spend. But that's actually very, very wrong. There are tier 2, tier 3 cities in India which are huge buying powers and you'll be shocked at how fashion forward and style conscious these cities are. And I think next 2 or 3 years are going to be a really interesting transitional phase for the country and for retail to see where we, end up getting to as a market.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that because we've spoken to Flipkart in between to the spokesperson, and so they say that the major orders on Flipkart also comes from tier 2, tier 3 cities, somewhere like Raipur, Bareilly, or probably from Agartala. You are getting the orders from those cities where we don't even think about probably going.
Yeah, no, and I actually think that's where we need to be because even if you're not getting, that's what when I've spoken to designers and when you hear their side of the story, and they tell you we've tried XYZ city and it hasn't done well for us because we do really well in Bombay, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Delhi, but we're not doing well in these smaller cities. My point of view has always been that you need to go back.
Yeah.
Because you expect that the same city is going to react in the same way every year as you go, but no, that city is evolving. Things are changing there, and I actually feel like it's an onus on you to also bring your style into that city.
Absolutely.
As much as that city just absorbing you when you go in.
Sure.
I think that the onus is on both ends for you to change the style there, for that style to absorb you. So I think we need to try harder in those cities and bring about.
I think that's where the market is now.
The market is there, the future is there.
Sense,
Yeah.
probably.
I mean, we get messages on social media all the time from people asking us, when are you coming here, when are you coming here, and I think mostly it's Raipur, Indore, Baroda.
I mentioned that.
Yeah, you said. So it's Raipur, Indore, Baroda. We have a lot of people asking us to come to Jalandhar and Ludhiana.
Lovely.
We have a lot of people asking us to come. I think I said Baroda already.
Yes, you did. You
Yeah,
did.
lots of inquiries about Baroda.
Nice.
I think with Ahmedabad and Surat,
Small
Baroda is
cities
feeling a
have
little
a lot.
left out.
Left out, yeah.
Small cities
So-
have a lot of potential. I think that's where your next market is.
Absolutely. So with the market discussion, there's a lot of discussion coming around the Make in India concept and the crafts of India and the handloom. And this entire surge of designers that is kind of coming up who want to use Indian textiles now in a very contemporary form. So what about Black Taxi and bringing a very different show around it? Like, do you have thoughts about that?
So we're very excited when the whole, when our PM announced the whole Made in India thing, because I think that's what we've prided ourselves on, because all our designers are, they're homegrown, they're made in India, the fabrics from here, the textiles are from here, the work on them is from here, so everything is, and that's what I enjoy in Singapore the most, because you're taking products from here and selling it there, and then they're appreciated so much more.
Sure.
And again, so when we do the big city, small city discussion in India, that kind of works with a country that's evolved and established and a country that's evolving. Or
there's a difference to it.
There is a difference to it. So in terms of style as well, sometimes when you're if you're in the US or the UK and you go shopping and you're like, ye cheez 10 saal pehle thi. Like, the styles haven't changed there much. The sense of dressing hasn't changed there much. Whereas in India, it's seen a huge change.
Sure.
So I in fact don't enjoy my shopping there as much anymore, because I think we have the colors, we have the vibes, we have the prints and so much more.
What do you think about it, Radhika?
Well, I'm a huge supporter of the Make in India. In fact, we actually, as Black Taxi, whatever little effort we can make to support artisans and small-scale cottage industries, we do work with a lot of non-profits. We have Udgreen downstairs who works with, they have their own training center where they provide employment for women, and they work proactively, and they're trying to revive the shibori technique and natural dyeing techniques and stuff. I think it's great. In fact, I also feel that having studied it's been a while, but design schools have evolved so much.
Yes.
And they are encouraging. There used to be a time when I was in school, a design school over here. It used to be all about following trends.
Yeah.
And now the focus has become on how to be a leader in trends rather than just blatantly being followers.
Sure.
And I think that's really needed.
Yes.
Especially when it comes down to fashion in India.
Absolutely.
And I definitely think we are leaders in so many techniques. You see runway shows of so many designers on international fashion weeks.
Yes.
The hand embroideries, the textiles. You see so much India in those collections.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're incorporating a lot of.
You see,
They're being inspired by us.
You see Kanjivarams and brocades and Banarsis in gowns and couture now.
Absolutely.
So it's fun. It's very exciting.
It's exciting.
It is very
time ahead.
exciting.
Exciting time ahead. So there are two topics which I want to touch base again. These are the topics which are kind of doing rounds in the fashion fraternity for a long time now. So one of them is repeat wear, and it's like really gained momentum with Meghan Markle also kind of getting into Meghan Markle or Kate Middleton or probably homegrown like let's say Priyanka Chopra. There are a lot of people who are kind of really highlighting on repeat wear as a movement. And since you guys are into the business of exhibitions, you are the aspiration providers,
It's too much pressure.
That's how I see that, you guys like bring out like the best of the curation and you're like, exciting people about it, like, oh my god, this fantastic thing is coming. So as a person who believes in repeat wear, I get like, oh my god, I want to buy this. But oh my god, I can't like really do that because of the philosophy that I believe into. So how do you kind of perceive that?
So I really think that there is a whole market in India that will evolve into pre-loved or pre-owned wear.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a balance, right? I understand you, like we want to, I repeat my outfits. We should, right? Because that's eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly, and I mean, I've bought it with so much of thought, why not?
Right. But at the same time, you wear it a few times and you also want to have fun.
Yeah.
You want to get new stuff and you want to try on new things. I think the one market that's not evolved here really is the pre-loved and the pre-owned market.
Sure.
So, which has now picked up a lot in other countries.
Yeah.
So once, let's say, when you have an outfit and you're able to recycle it that way, you'll feel a little less guilty about buying new things, and you make space in your closet.
Yeah.
And you can buy more, and that's being used by someone else, so it's not.
It's not too. You don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, not being eco-unfriendly.
Sure.
So.
There's also a cultural stigma, I think, in our country.
I
think
love how you address that.
Yeah, but it's breaking, and I see it break slowly with shoes and bags.
Yeah.
And I think the next step will be clothing.
Yeah.
Especially, I think a good place to start would be saris and wedding lehengas.
Yes.
Just because of the amount of money that we have, we spend on
Absolutely.
wedding outfits. It's
But do you also think a rental business should be a good one in this case? Like a rental market?
I think that's already really picked up here.
Yeah. I think it started, it has
it's still like
a long
how
way
you
to
mentioned
go.
cultural stigma.
Yeah.
So people don't want to tell that hey I rented it.
Yeah.
Or people don't want to tell hey I bought second hand.
Exactly.
Like we Ciceroni hosted the first ever pre-loved garage sale. We did that like a month ago, and we were also like really conscious about it. That we don't know how is the market going to respond to it because it's radical. In a place like Gujarat, it's typically, I feel, very, very radical thing that we did, and it was overwhelming to see the response.
That's awesome.
Of it.
That's really interesting to know.
It shows that people are opening their minds to it.
We had like 100 buyers. Like for us, it was an achievement in itself.
That's a huge potential in our country.
Right. So pre-loved and the cultural stigma is what you're saying.
And like she said, the whole wedding trousseau, you spend so much money on outfits that you want someone else to wear them.
Of course.
Because they're just...
I mean, we always share our clothes.
Which always used
Which
to
always
happen,
works,
right? Like
we're always
friends and relatives and everyone swapping the clothes was always a norm.
We share our clothes, we share our accessories, and like sometimes we feel like we have two closets instead of one, so now automatically we buy lesser. So your buying has become 50% if you have another person's closet, you have access to it.
Because you shouldn't stop stop enjoying the whole buying process.
Correct. Absolutely.
Retail therapy
So
is a
fashion
real thing.
is never going to go away because fashion brings in aspiration. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
It is the identity. It's your identity,
Right.
and you need to keep communicating. Through your identity. So that's never going to go away. So which is one last question that we come to, and so we discussed it earlier.
Yeah.
So what's the whole deal about the market dynamics and plagiarism? The word has picked up like really a lot in last 2-3 years with pages like Diet Sabya coming into picture and like pointing a lot of people, and we see a lot of social media shaming also around it.
Yeah.
Like things have like really been vocal.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the only way? Or do you see any other way? How do you feel as exhibitors? As the curators, you kind of...
We, as curators, I think we have a very strong stand on it. Whereas, when it comes to plagiarism, we consciously don't support it.
Yeah.
But I think if there is ever... we've been lucky enough to not, have had any such unfortunate
Incident
that has happened. But I think it's an important conversation that the country needs to have and address. I'm torn between the general attitude and sentiment towards it, or just the approach towards it.
Right.
Personally, for me, it's a little too aggressive.
Right.
I think a more courteous conversation and a more...
need to take place.
Yeah, and I think a more honest, confrontational conversation needs to take place. And I feel like this needs to start at a much grassroots level.
Sure.
It needs to start with educational institutions that
Precisely.
are, ingraining this into you that this is wrong.
Right.
When you go to fashion schools like NIFT, NID, I think they are such huge influences.
Sure.
And so many, every year they have thousands and thousands of graduates. So I feel like it has to start over there, this conversation.
Sure.
And then it can't be a sudden overnight change,
It
right?
won't
So
be.
we expecting that is not fair.
Yeah.
So that gradual change will happen, and we are hoping that it will. But
It will. Great. So I have a couple of questions, but I believe most of them I have asked. There's one thing which I would want to ask you still is when it comes to what are the challenges? What are the challenges you faced earlier, and now you do not have to face those challenges anymore because of the change in the market? Anything that you have kind of figured out?
So about 9 years ago when we started in 2011, there were homegrown brands,
Right.
but there were much fewer.
Huh.
And people didn't know of us back then. So I think some of the challenges were in kind of approaching labels, encouraging people to start, and getting production, linking them with production studios, or helping them in how they could step forward into the production business after the conceptual idea. I think now all of that has changed.
Right.
So there's a lot of avenues that people have now been introduced to. So there's a lot more designers out there. There's a lot of mentors out there. So anybody that's getting into the design field, there's different ways to start your business when you're starting. And so for us, the challenges that we faced to get designers on board
has lessened quite a lot because more of systemization and processes, and
a
people
lot
are more
more
well
people
informed.
wanting to do this, and a lot more people that are able to do this because of processes in place.
Sure. So the last question, what's next for Black Taxi?
Wait and watch, I would say.
You want people to be curious, is it?
Yeah,
I think so. I think curiosity, generates excitement. So,
but we do have a lot of concepts we're working on. So there's new concepts.
yeah, and I think we touched on this, that there are other markets and avenues in India that we want to explore.
Absolutely.
So we are working on a couple of things.
Great.
And when Ciceroni asks us to do the next pre-loved in Ahmedabad,
We would
We'll see
totally
you
like
there.
to do that. We would totally like to do that.
Yeah.
And we look forward to all the exciting adventures that you're going to bring together with Black Taxi.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
us.
Thank
you so
Ahmedabad.
much.
We'll see you at the
Thank you.
event.
Yay! Thank you so much, everyone. And Black Taxi is hosting the exhibition today and tomorrow at Courtyard Marriott. If you have some time and if you love shopping, this is the place to be. And we will see you next week, Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. with another guest on Candid at Ciceroni Live. Thank you.